Okay, where are the children? Are you children ready for Santa Claus? Yeah! 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 You better watch out. You better not cry. You better not pout. I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming down. That's right. That's right. So when you get home tonight, you're going to want to sleep fast. Right? Because tomorrow's going to be great. Indeed, I spoke to Santa just this morning. He and I are old friends, as you might imagine. And he told me that this Christmas was just going to be wonderful for you all. So if you'll just let me talk to your parents for a few minutes, we'll get on with this service and then you can get down to it. Okay? Is that a deal? All right. I'm going to take your word for it. The angel said to the shepherds, "Be not afraid. For behold, I bring you good news of a great joy for all the people. To you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, who is Christ the Lord. And this will be a sign for you. You will find the child wrapped in swaddling cloths," as they used to say, lying in a manger. Swaddling cloths are ancient diapers, by the way. What else could they be? For behold, I bring you good news of a great joy. Behold. You know, that's a very special word, behold. And it may not mean what you think it means. In the King James Bible, the word behold is used hundreds of times. In more modern translations, not so much. The word, I suppose, is thought to be outdated and antiquated. And that's a shame, because it's really a really neat word. And what it means is to see in a very special way. To see not just with your eyes, but also with your heart. It means to see with new eyes, to see with the eyes of faith. Indeed, when the child Jesus grew up, apparently one of his favorite sayings became, "He who has eyes, let him see." And that's what he meant. You're not really seeing until you see with the eyes of faith. And thus the shepherds were going to have to see with new eyes if they were going to truly see the Christ. You see, in that manger. And of course the same is true for us. In order to truly behold, we too must learn to see with new eyes. We must learn to see the Christ, first of all, in the world about us. In creation itself, the stars at night, and the beauty of our own world, mountains and rivers and sea and sky and rocks and trees and creatures great and small. Even doofusy dogs and indifferent cats. Christ lives in all of them, if we can but behold him. And so we behold Christ in creation, but then we also must learn to behold Christ in one another. Of course we do. And even, and maybe especially, in ourselves. For the Bible makes it clear that the Christ dwells in all the people of God. Of course it does. Now, in some folks, he's more obscure than in others, perhaps. Nonetheless, the more we practice, the easier it gets to behold Christ. And so we begin to learn to behold Christ in the world around us, and as we do that, we can better behold the Christ in the manger, because now it begins to actually mean something to us, you see. I told the folks on Sunday, one of the things that we never think about when it comes to Jesus is the fact that Jesus was poor, dirt poor, his whole life. He was conceived poor in the womb of a little Hebrew peasant girl, the lowest of the low. In her culture, Mary was little more than a slave, and yet it pleased God to come among us, not in majesty, but in humility. He was conceived poor. And then he was born poor. You know, most scholars believe that Jesus was actually born in a cave. A cave. Y'all know what a manger is? Do you? It's a feed trough for cattle. Jesus was born in a cattle trough. You can't make that up. Can you? He was born poor. And he lived poor too. But you say, wait just a minute, I thought Jesus looked like a rock star. the poverty line his whole life and never, get this, never aspired to better. He was conceived poor. He was born poor. He lived and died poor. You think maybe God is trying to tell us something? Do you? Y'all, even after the resurrection, Jesus was poor on this earth. It's true. I think he's trying to tell us that all the things that we hold dear, all the stuff that we acquire and accumulate, in the end, is not worth anything at all. Absolutely worthless. Their value is an illusion. Indeed, it is the height of irony that all of the acquiring and acquisitiveness that so marks this season has become the primary characterization of our celebration of Christmas. Isn't that something? Out in the store this morning, first thing. I sure was. Nevertheless, as we begin to behold the Christ, we begin to see him more clearly. A new Christ begins to emerge. You see, we've made Christ in our image for so long that when we actually finally see him, we don't recognize him because he doesn't look like us. We begin to see a new Christ. Christ begins to, if you will, be born anew in us. And that Christ is not interested in anything that we are interested in. I hate to be the one to break it to you, but it's the truth. That Christ is not interested in whether or not we are rich or poor. That Christ is not interested in whether or not we are black or white. And increasingly, many of us have come to the conclusion that that Christ is not interested in whether any of us are gay or straight. He just wants to love us. That's all he wants. That Christ is not interested in whether you succeed or fail, whether you have a big car or take the bus, whether you have a big house or live in a trailer. He just wants to love you. That Christ is not interested in who is president or who wins the football game. That Christ just wants to love you. And our only job in this world is to let him do it. That Christ, my friends, is interested in one thing and one thing only, and that is to gather us all up to himself more and more and more and more and more. That is his job. You see, we don't belong to this world. It's not our home. It's a staging area, nothing more than that. We don't even really belong to ourselves. That's another cultural myth. We belong to God. We were made for God, and the more we behold the Christ, the more we come to believe that and live that. But here's the deal. We've got to learn to see all over again. We've got to learn to see the world is not what it appears to be. On this most holy night, surrounded by all the trappings of the faith, the altar and the cross and the nativity, the carols, the sacrament, it is my prayer that you will come and behold tonight and then adore. It's just like that song says. Come and behold him, born the King of angels. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him. Oh, come, let us adore him, Christ Lord. Merry Christmas.